Welcome to a miraculous story amidst the sea of flames and disaster. In this video, we will explore the surprising tales of miracles that occurred during the intense wildfires in California. Amidst the horrific destruction, mysterious stories of salvation and omens appeared, shedding light on a miraculous faith in times of despair. People trapped in the flames, facing death, unexpectedly noticed signals from another world. We will witness real miracles, things that can't be explained, and lives saved at the last moment. These stories will send chills down your spine and make you believe in the power of faith, even when all seems lost. Get ready for a strange journey, where miracles truly exist amidst chaos and destruction. Boma Street John and the Mystery of Guidance. On January 6, 2025, in her serene beachfront home in Malibu, California, Boma Street, John sat in her spacious living room, listening to the soothing sound of waves crashing outside, mingling with the joyful laughter of her daughter, Lel, emanating from the home theater. Despite the peaceful atmosphere, an inexplicable sense of restlessness lingered within Boma. This unease began on the first Sunday morning of January 2025 during her attendance at the annual service at a small church in Malibu. The service unfolded peacefully until Boma's eyes accidentally lingered on a familiar statue of Christ. Suddenly, the statue appeared more lifelike than ever, and a crystalline tear rolled down its face. Initially, she thought it was her imagination, but when the tear vanished before her eyes, Boma felt something unusual. She turned to ask those around her, but no one had noticed anything out of the ordinary. This sense of unease stayed with her throughout the week, and strange events began to unfold. A critical business meeting Boma had planned to host at her home on January 8th was abruptly postponed. On the same day, a distant relative called, requesting her presence at a celebration for their daughter-in-law's long-awaited pregnancy, a moment they had been awaiting for over a decade. This unexpected turn of events prompted Boma and her daughter to leave the house early on January 9th. Just hours after they left, a wildfire erupted in the Palisades, spreading rapidly. The blaze consumed the coastal region, and Boma's beloved home, where she had placed all her faith and hope, was reduced to ashes. When she received the news, Boma was devastated. She shared on Instagram, "This was the home where I prayed, fought to have, and now it's gone." Despite her heartbreak, Boma realized that the series of strange events was not coincidental. The tear on the Christ statue and the sudden change in plans seemed to be a divine signal to protect her and her daughter from disaster. The sense of safety and divine protection deepened her faith and highlighted the significance of every detail in life. In the following days, Boma and her daughter temporarily stayed at a friend's house. While everything around them remained challenging, the love and support from the community became a tremendous source of encouragement. Neighbors and friends came together, contributing to help Boma rebuild a new home, both physically and emotionally. Most importantly, Boma realized that life is not just about the material things we build, but the connections we share with one another. This event taught her that sometimes, from great loss, we can discover extraordinary strength to start anew, as long as there is love and unity. Since then, Boma has become a symbol of resilience in the Malibu community. Her story has been widely shared, not just as a reminder of the importance of faith, but also as a call for everyone to cherish what they have and support one another in times of need. Lydia, A Journey Through the Flames, a story of hope, resilience, and human kindness. On January 6, 2025, as flames ravaged Altadena, California, a deeply moving story was unfolding. Lydia Abra, a resilient single mother with her 8-year-old daughter, Mara, was one of the many directly facing this disaster. However, their story was not just one of loss and tragedy, but also a tale of spiritual strength, hope, and kindness. Lydia's house was a place filled with connections, precious keepsakes and held Amara tightly before rushing out of the house. The sky was dark, the strong winds causing the flames to spread rapidly. A mixture of fear and hope filled Lydia as she resolved to protect her daughter at all costs. The two of them rushed out of the danger zone, but the fire didn't stop. Within a few hours, their neighborhood had been reduced to ashes, and the old homes that once were their sanctuary were nothing but charred remains. News of Lydia's situation quickly spread. Friends, former neighbors, and even strangers from afar came together to donate and help Lydia and Amara. Within just a few days, Lydia had received enough funds to begin rebuilding her home. The gifts, encouragement, and support from the community renewed her strength, helping her to see hope in the midst of dark days. Lydia's story was not just one of loss, but also one of resilience and the ability to overcome adversity. In the months following the disaster, Lydia became a symbol of hope, not only to those in Altadena, but to all those facing challenges in their lives. Lydia believes that her dream was a warning from an unseen force, and it was because of that dream that she was saved. The greatest lesson Lydia learned from this disaster is that no matter how harsh life can be, kindness and love will always prevail. The Altadena community chose love over despair, and because of that, Lydia was able to rebuild not just her home, but her belief in the goodness of people. Lydia Abra is not only a single mother who overcame disaster, but also a model of hope, resilience, and kindness. Her story will forever stand as a testament to the strength of the human spirit, and as a reminder that in the most difficult moments, love and kindness will guide us through. Anthony Mitchell and The Choice, At the Gates of Heaven. On January 5th, 2025, in Altadena, California, Anthony Mitchell, a 67-year-old man who had lived a life full of resilience and love for his family, sat by the small window in his modest wooden home. The radiant sunset bathed the distant hills in golden light, creating a serene scene before a fateful event. That night, Anthony had a strange dream, a dream he knew was more than just fleeting images in slumber. In the dream, Anthony and his brother, Justin Mitchell, stood in a lush green meadow, where gentle light enveloped them like a heavenly embrace. Before them stood God, with a kind smile, and behind them were their departed parents. A strange path suddenly appeared beside God. It was a path promising wealth and glory, but devoid of humanity. Anthony didn't hesitate. He looked at Justin, held his brother's hand, and led him toward God and their parents, leaving behind the alluring but soulless path. God smiled, placed his hands on their shoulders, and guided them toward a light more radiant than ever. The next morning, Anthony woke up with a heavy yet determined heart. He recounted the dream to his son, Anthony Mitchell Jr., along with cryptic words. "I feel it's time. God has given Justin and me a chance to leave behind pain and loss. I just want you to know how much I love you and how proud I am of you." Those words rang like a profound farewell, though Anthony Jr. didn't realize it would be their last conversation. 2 days later, disaster struck unexpectedly. Fierce Santa Ana winds fanned massive flames, turning Altadena into a fiery inferno. The fire spread rapidly to Anthony's wooden home. Justin, paralyzed and unable to move on his own, remained inside. Although Anthony could have escaped with his prosthetic legs, he chose not to abandon his brother. He returned to Justin, and together they faced the fire consuming everything around them. In their final moments, the brothers held each other's hands tightly, confronting fate as a symbol of unbreakable love and loyalty. As the house was engulfed in flames, loved ones realized Anthony had made the ultimate sacrifice. Through tears, Anthony Jr. shared that his father had lived true to the values he cherished: love, sacrifice, and family unity. "My father never abandoned his family. Even when facing death, he chose to stay with Justin. I'm heartbroken, but I'm proud that my father left behind a legacy not of wealth, but of boundless compassion and love. The story of Anthony Mitchell and Justin is not just a tragedy, but a profound reminder of family love and sacrifice. The values Anthony left behind live on, not only in the hearts of his loved ones, but as an inspiration to many others. Dallas Curry and the Sacred Omen. On a cold winter night, as the world welcomed the new year, Dallas Curry, a once famous actress, sat by the wooden window of her home in Altadena, Los Angeles. The pale moonlight filtered through the bare branches, casting a glow on her face, etched with the marks of time. The night was serene, but Dallas's heart was full of emotion. She called her granddaughter, Kelly, to her side, her voice trembling not from the cold, but from an unexplainable feeling in her soul. "Kelly, God visited me in a dream," she whispered, her eyes reflecting a distant gaze. "He said my time on this earth is short. He led me through a fiery path where flames burned like imprisoned souls. But he told me not to fear, for this is the path to salvation." Kelly, though familiar with her grandmother's spiritual tales, couldn't help but feel uneasy. She assumed it was just another fleeting dream, much like the stories her grandmother often told. Yet something in Dallas's tone left her feeling unsettled. Kelly had no idea that this dream would soon turn into a harbinger of a tragic event. On the evening of January 7th, 2025, a fierce wildfire erupted in the foothills of Altadena. The wind carried the scent of smoke and the heat of burning vegetation to the neighborhood homes. Kelly visited Dallas that evening, urging her grandmother to evacuate, but Dallas gave a faint smile. "Don't worry, my dear. I'm always ready for whatever God has planned," she said, her frail hands clasping Kelly's firmly. Despite her concerns, Kelly had to leave to care for her sister, who was battling cancer. Before leaving, she urged Dallas to lock the doors and be prepared for emergencies. That night, Kelly couldn't sleep, her mind clouded with worry. The next morning, an emergency alert sounded, announcing that Altadena was engulfed in flames. Desperate, Kelly drove to her grandmother's house, only to find it completely reduced to ashes. Firefighters and police confirmed that no one in the area had survived. Kelly searched for her grandmother at every evacuation center, but it was in vain. Days later, Dallas's body was discovered among the ruins. Through tears, Kelly shared on television. She always said that death is not the end, but a doorway back to heaven. She knew this, and I believe she was ready to walk through that door. Dallas Curry left behind not only a career filled with artistic achievements, but also an unshakable belief in the profound meaning of life. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of life's fragility and a message of faith and readiness for the inevitable. Unexpected disaster in Malibu. Tina Nola's story. On the early morning of January 4th, 2025, Tina Nola's, a successful entrepreneur and renowned philanthropist, woke up in her stunning beachfront wooden home in Malibu. It was her 71st birthday, but instead of the usual joy, an inexplicable unease clouded her mind. Before the sun rose, she felt restless and stepped onto the balcony to take in the breathtaking view of the Pacific Ocean. Amid the misty dawn, Tina suddenly noticed a strange light in the sky, resembling a heavenly torch blazing among the clouds. The light lingered for a few minutes before plummeting toward Tanga Forest, leaving her utterly bewildered. Tina immediately summoned her security guard to investigate, but nothing unusual was found. Yet deep down, she knew this was no natural phenomenon. Throughout the day, she spent time taking photos and videos of her home and the surrounding ocean scenery, as if sensing that these might be the last memories of the place she always called her paradise. 3 days later, on January 7th, the Palisades wildfire erupted unexpectedly, spreading rapidly across Malibu. Tina was on her way to a charity event in downtown Los Angeles when she received news of the disaster. She rushed back only to find her entire home reduced to ashes. Among the ruins, Tina discovered a charred piece of wood bearing a small mark resembling a cross. Though heartbroken, she felt an inexplicable peace. Perhaps God gave me a sign that the house would be gone, but I wouldn't lose everything, Tina shared with her daughter. She expressed gratitude to the firefighters who risked their lives to protect the community and emphasized that material possessions are fleeting. Tina shared her story on Instagram, delivering an inspiring message about life's fragility and the strength of faith. Her story quickly went viral, becoming a source of motivation for many, reminding them of the value of sacred moments and resilience in the face of adversity. Meghan Markle and the mission to save Montecito. On the night of January 1st, 2025, in her home in Montecito, California, Meghan Markle woke up abruptly. The tolling of church bells echoed like a warning from the strange dream she had just experienced. In the dream, she saw Montecito shrouded in thick fog and smoke, accompanied by the crackling sounds of raging fires. Standing at the threshold of her home, Meghan saw a shadowy figure resembling Christ. But the light was so blinding she couldn't make out the face. Meghan's sense of unease grew as January 5th arrived. The fierce Santa Ana winds carried dry heat, signaling the imminent threat of wildfire. Just as in her dream, a massive fire erupted in northern Los Angeles, rapidly spreading to Montecito. The sky turned ashen gray, and the air thickened with the acrid smell of smoke. Amid the emergency, Meghan immediately called Prince Harry, and they decided to turn their home into a shelter for those in need. As raging flames consumed Montecito, thousands of families were forced to evacuate. Meghan and Harry acted swiftly, inviting friends, neighbors, and even strangers to take refuge in their spacious home. The living room became a gathering place for dozens of people, many still in shock and panic. Inside the home, Meghan and Harry weren't just hosts, but also community organizers. With help from local volunteers, they prepared hot meals, distributed water, and comforted frightened children. When the fire reached its peak, a sudden shift in wind direction narrowly spared Montecito. Those sheltered in Meghan's home called it a miracle. As the situation stabilized, Meghan and Harry visited the Pasadena Convention Center to meet victims and first responders. There, they listened to heartbreaking stories and shared messages of hope and unity. In a brief speech, Meghan said, "Our home is not just ours. It's a refuge for anyone in need. We are strongest when we share together." Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's actions during this challenging time left a lasting impression on the Montecito community. It was a testament to solidarity and compassion, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, kindness and sacrifice can illuminate faith and hope. Fred Daniels and the redemption of a veteran of Christ. On January 5th, 2025, Fred Daniels, a Navy veteran with the weary look of the world, enjoyed a peaceful evening with his family in their Craftsman home in California. The home was not just a residence, but a vault of memories, the heart of the Daniels family, telling their journey from Louisiana to the West Coast, enduring the storms of Katrina and Harvey. However, unease lingered in Fred's heart throughout the week, and a calm atmosphere seemed to be broken by strange events. Yesterday, as Fred sat before a wall adorned with family photos, he felt an unusual chill brush over his shoulder. On an old, faded frame, dimly lit by soft light, he saw the shadow of a woman in white, a faint figure reminding him of his late grandmother. The woman, from Hurricane Katrina, said nothing, but her gaze fixed on the window, staring into the forest, as if warning him of something. The next day, Fred shared this strange vision with his wife. Though their family was no stranger to hardship and loss, they could never have imagined that this was a premonition of what was to come. On On the evening of January 6th, as Fred was cleaning the yard, he heard a strange noise, a whistling wind like a sigh, seemingly from nowhere. A thin wisp of smoke stretched across the clear blue sky, carrying a faint smell of burning. When he looked up, he noticed distant, flickering lights, but when he asked his neighbors, no one noticed anything unusual. On the morning of January 7th, Fred's wife, Patricia, suddenly received a call from a friend in Los Angeles, a friend who hadn't visited the U.S. in years. This friend urged them to come to the city for a reunion, even though the family had planned to stay home. Deciding to go, the Daniels family had no urgent commitments that day. As they drove out of their neighborhood, Fred glanced into the rearview mirror and saw flames beginning to lick at the distant hills. But they thought it was just another small wildfire, nothing unusual. It wasn't until hours later that they received the heartbreaking news that the fire had spread, quickly consuming their home and the entire neighborhood. When they returned, in the following days, Fred stood from a distance, unable to hold back tears as he stared at where their home once stood, now reduced to ashes. But amidst the grief, he felt the salvation of God in the series of warning events that had guided his family to leave just in time. Fred shared with his neighbors that perhaps God had sent her to save them through their house, and all their possessions were lost. Fred felt fortunate that his family was safe. "We've lost everything so many times," he said, "but life and family love are the greatest treasures of all." Amid the ashes and rising challenges, Fred Daniels and his family decided to rebuild their lives, holding on to the faith that even in the most catastrophic disasters, the miracles of God are always present. As the flames still blazed in their neighborhood, Fred began to explore how he could start over. He knew that everything could be lost in an instant, but his faith in God and in his family would never be shattered. The loss of their possessions taught him that nothing could replace the value of love, unity, and belief. Fred decided that no matter how difficult the circumstances, he and his family would continue to walk the path of salvation that God had guided them on. Though he had endured many disasters and losses throughout his life, Fred never felt abandoned. Instead, he felt God's presence in his most desperate moments. This spiritual awakening allowed him to reevaluate life and the importance of the relationships that mattered most. As his family faced the task of starting over, Fred reignited the flame of hope in his heart, reminding himself that God would never abandon them, no matter how tough the situation became. Determined to rebuild their lives from the ashes, the Daniels family worked tirelessly to restore what was lost. Each member of the family contributed to the restoration of their home and the rebuilding of the memories and bonds they shared. They found comfort and motivation in their unity. Fred knew that even though they had lost everything materially, their solidarity and love created an invisible strength that became the foundation for them to rebuild from scratch. Although he had faced many trials and hardships, Fred always recognized that life wasn't always easy. But what mattered was how one faced those difficulties. The loss taught him valuable lessons of gratitude and faith. Fred felt thankful for each day he was alive, for his loved ones beside him, and for the ability to continue walking in the light of God. He learned to cherish every moment, because in every challenge, there was the presence of grace and salvation. We sincerely thank you for taking the time to follow our story. Your attention and support are great motivations for us to continue sharing tales of strength, faith, and hope. Every word of encouragement, every moment of empathy from you is a precious gift that we deeply cherish. Please continue to join us in spreading meaningful messages, and together, let's create a world filled with